Yeah, Teddy, that was my first thought as well. Is you're seeing double-digit line against a Pistons team that has been scrappy here in recent weeks. But then the more I dug into this game, I think Miami's the play in this one, laying the double digits for a few reasons. First of all, the Heat had that 7-game losing streak about a month ago. If you recall, that was the longest ever under Spolstra. He's been there like 13, 15 years. They started getting back on track, and they really have turned the corner. They're now 10-3 their last 13 games, and the win against Utah on the surface, a non-covering win the other night might appear, kind of nonchalant, but keep in mind they were down, I believe, by like 11 points in the third quarter in that game, and then closed out to win it, going away by 6 as a 9-point favorite. So they overcame it. They outscored them by about 17 points down the stretch in that game, and I think that's a momentum sign. Keep in mind also, it was a very difficult spot against Utah on Saturday. They were coming home off a 6-game road trip, including 4 straight since the All-Star break. They haven't played at home since February 11th, Super Bowl Sunday. That was their first home game since the Super Bowl. So it's understandable that they came out a little bit flat. And the fact that they turned it on in the late third quarter and fourth quarter is the buy signal that they're still a solid team. This is also a Miami team that had covered 8 straight games until a push at Denver and that non-covering win against Utah. So I still think Miami's in excellent current form. The question is, can Detroit keep it close here? I don't think they can. This is a Detroit team that's now playing their third game in 5 nights. They've lost now, I believe, 7 of their last 9. Only win was at Chicago, who is really struggling offensively. I know they were a double-digit dog in that game back on last Wednesday, but Chicago's ice cold offensively. Pistons have also not stepped up against good teams. You look at some of the recent losses at Indiana, they lost by 14, lost by 16 right before that at Phoenix, lost by 14 against the Lakers before that on the road. And then against Orlando this past Sunday, they lost by 22. So if you're going to play it, I would lay it with the Miami Heat tonight on Tuesday.
So Miami has a pretty clear track record in the Spolstra era. We like them as road underdogs, sometimes as short favorites, but Miami as home chalk hasn't been bad. They've been consistently bad for years. I just went back and looked, and dating back to November, I haven't got to the end of the beginning of the season, but I think I'm pretty close. Yeah, I got 3 times all year that Miami has won a home game by more than 12 points. So margins have been difficult for them to obtain. Do you worry at all about Miami winning but not covering in this point spread range? Because that's something they've been pretty good at throughout the Spolstra era, including most of this season.
Yeah, no question. I mean, like I said, on the surface, when you first look at this, you're thinking, boy, I'm not going to lay double digits with the Heat, especially against a Pistons team that had been a little more scrappy over the last couple months. And they've covered more games than not. If you go back to the end of January, Detroit's been over a 60% play against the spread. But as I said, when they've been stepping up recently, looks like the wheels are starting to come off. This is still a Detroit team that's just 5-26 on the road this season. So that is the one concern here, is that Miami wins but doesn't cover. But you're asking a lot of the Pistons to be competitive in this game with a 5-26 straight up road record. And as I said earlier, the fact that the Heat were sluggish for the majority of that Utah game and actually trailed until the mid third quarter, I think that's actually the wake up sign. And if there's a situation where they probably win by margin, it is tonight.